Today's Ag Stories journey, we're at Front Porch Farm near Arden, Washington, where we have fresh local honey, pumpkins, and a whole lot of other good stuff coming out straight off the farm. This series sponsored by Ag Enterprise Supply and State Bank Northwest. I know that you asked how I happened to find Front Porch Farms, and the story is that I bought celery that you guys are selling through the R store in Reardon, and that brought that, plus I've driven by you on 395, brought you to my attention. So it's you've been here for a while. When did you start Front Porch Farms?
We bought the farm in 1999.
Okay, well that's quite a good run then.
And then we actually took possession of the farm and actually started farming in the year 2000.
So your first growing season, your first produce was summer of 2000?
Correct.
Great, that's 20 years. So celebrating your 20th anniversary.
Right.
Happy anniversary.
Right. Yeah.
I didn't realize that when I contacted you for this interview. Very cool. So what did you start out growing? What was your first successful crop?
We just had a small garden, and it was located back behind me, and it was just like 100 by 100, and we soon found out that wasn't near big enough. But we grew the typical potatoes and corn and carrots and beets and things that grow well in a cooler climate.
Yeah, because we're up just north of Addy, so we are a little bit cooler
Right.
climate. Although the Colville Valley has a little bit different weather patterns than one might expect this far
Right.
north.
But since we're in the bottom of the valley, we tend to freeze early. That's cold air settles, and
Sure.
that tends to be our pattern. We do a lot to try to extend our season here. You can see the greenhouses in the back,
Right.
and we do all of our 90% of what we plant is a seedling that we start by seed in a controlled environment in a soil block, and then the soil block gets about 3 weeks old and maybe 6 inches high, and then we harden it off in one of the greenhouses, and then we plant in our garden in black plastic. We have black plastic mulch. It's a 1 mil embossed black plastic that raises the soil temperature a minimum of 20 degrees when the sun's out. But you can't take a seedling from a greenhouse and put it outside and expect it to survive. So
Right.
we have to put hoops and remake cloth over the top for the first month or so to get it acclimated and growing good. So a lot of hand labor. Everything is hand planted on our hands and knees, and it's a lot of work.
So when you started, did you anticipate trying to grow this big, or was that just a result of success, that early success?
It's a result of my kids, 2 of my 5 kids, deciding they would stay on the farm.
So the farm had to get bigger.
If it's going to support us, yes, it did. Lots bigger. Yeah.
Okay.
Our first season was really just pretty dismal. We built the store in 2003, and we opened it on July 4th, as a matter of fact. And then 3 weeks later, the Department of Transportation decided they were going to resurface 395, which meant pilot cars taking, a string of cars by our store and not allowing them to pull in. So we had all this produce and no market for it, and that's what got me started doing farmers markets. So it was kind of a bittersweet. We didn't do very well that year, but at least we got our foot in the door at the local farmers markets. And
So now you sell both out of your own little shop as well as to
the farmers markets are by far, in a way, our bread and butter on the farm.
Well, you mentioned, again, I bought some of your produce at the store in Reardon, that you're also distributing through some other outlets now as well. And how did you come to find those outlets?
They really came to us. The Hunger Coalition is a nonprofit private organization locally here in Stevens County, and they want to provide food. There's a lot of vets in our county, and a lot of we're a low-income county, so there's a lot of need here for food assistance. And so they started contracting with local farmers. There's not very many of us, maybe 2 or 3, but they started contracting with local farmers to buy local produce to sell directly to Hunger Coalition, who then distribute us through the food bank to the community.
You started with some of the cold season plants. Have you expanded your plantings?
Oh, by far, yeah. We started out with probably a 50 by 100 garden, and now we're intensive farming about 5 acres of organic vegetables. We're not certified organic, but we practice organic practices. So our sprays, our fertilizer, our soil conditioning is all done organically.
So I can see potatoes. What was the?
Oh, we should start with if we go through the season climate-wise, we start with cold weather crops, which would be all the brassicas, kohlrabi, broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, Chinese cabbage or Napa cabbage, lettuce, spinach, kale, chard, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's our first crops, and we actually put those in our greenhouses because we're so cold here.
Yeah.
Our growing season is like 120 days
Yeah.
from frost to frost, so we have to really take advantage of our extended season structures.
Okay, so after you get past that early cool season, how do you take advantage of the middle of the summer?
Well, then things like beans and peas, and we grow watermelon and cantaloupe here, and corn. I plant corn from April 10th to June 25th. 10 different weeks I plant corn because we do 4 farmers market per week, and I need corn, fresh corn for each market. So, I plant a block of corn 10 times.
Wow.
And my first planting of corn is like a 65 or 70 day corn, an early variety. Doesn't get real big, but it's a quick ripening, a quick maturing corn. And then as the season extends, we get into the middle of the season, then I can plant longer varieties, bigger ears, that sort of thing. So I have to program everything to the weather.
And hope that the weather is
Cooperates.
cooperates. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I've lived in farming country long enough to know that for most farmers the weather's never perfect. There's always something wrong with it.
No,
but-
it's either too hot or too cold.
yeah, or too wet or too dry.
Right.
Right. And then do you do another round of, say, the greens, the
Sure.
kale and chard in
Yeah,
the
we
fall?
successive plant lettuce probably 8 times during the season, and kale and chard have a life. So if you keep picking them, and you just pick the leaves on both of those plants,
Yeah.
the roots stay in the ground. So those are an all-season, a one-time crop. But lettuce and beans and corn and broccoli and things that need, that don't last, we have to replant. And that's the biggest hassle, because we're doing 4 farmers markets and irrigating 200 acres of hay ground and cutting hay. It's really demanding
Yeah.
on our time.
And thus, this is why we were talking to you in November,
Correct.
because
You
you
wouldn't
finally
get me.
you
You
could-
wouldn't. You wouldn't get me out here standing still for this long.
right, you can catch your breath now.
Right.
So you mentioned a lot of hand labor. Is it all family, or you have
Yes. Well,
some people in the neighborhood you work with?
as I mentioned, I bought the farm in 1999. I had 5 children at home at the time. My oldest daughter got married and left, and she lives in Alaska. But I had 2 boys and 2 girls left. And the 2 boys, when I bought the farm, they were 15 and 9. And the younger 9-year-old stayed on the farm until about 5 years ago, and he decided he didn't want to be a farmer. He is a highway patrolman, a state patrolman. But the older son, who's now 38, is full-time on the farm and has been since when we moved here when he was 15. So he really knows the operation, having grown up in the middle of it. We originally bought the farm as a sole proprietor, and as the kids got interested and wanted to make it their vocation as well,
You've got a succession plan in place.
we do.
That's critical
We
for
do.
any small business,
It
and
is.
especially for a farm. So.
It is. I'm almost 70, so that tells you that I'm not going to be around a whole lot longer. I mean, I'm not going to be working like this a whole lot longer. So I started a new career, midlife crisis kind of thing, and it's just been really neat, because I'm working with my family and my grandkids. We have 7 of 11 grandkids on the farm, and that's pretty neat to have
It is.
them right here, and they're learning and they're working with us now. They're getting old enough to help.
That is. So that serial careers is the new thing. So you're right on the cutting edge. So,
Good. Good to hear.
was there anything I should have asked you that you want to say on the anniversary, on your 20th anniversary, successfully starting and running a farm and passing it on to the next generation?
Well,
Any advice?
We need more people like us that want to work hard and want to, have a production of food for their local community. That's really important.
Yeah.
We're seeing that, I think, with COVID, and we're seeing that with distribution, transportation costs of food. And people have been, I do have to say, people have been super supportive of us. As we were new in town, and so it takes a while to develop a name and a reputation. But as that grew, we're just really blessed to have the community behind us. We do 3 farmers markets, 2 in Colville and 1 in Chihuahua, and about a third of our income comes from just those 3 farmers markets on a total
Yeah.
farm, which
Well,
is amazing.
that diversification of outlets is a big
big
deal
thing,
for you too.
right.
That really helps.
Right.
Well, congratulations
Thank you.
on your success.
It's been a lot of work, but a lot of fun.
Yeah, cool. Merritt Atchison, it was nice to meet you today.
Nice to meet you too.
I just had a nice chat with your dad about the history of the place, buying the farm in 1999 and getting started, and you're very interested in taking it on and continuing.
Well, we're working on it, yeah.
So what's your favorite part of farming?
Oh my, there's a lot. There's a lot I like. I think the greatest thing I like is the change, that every day is different. That there's not a, you can kind of set your schedule, but I like the fact that every day is different. That it's.
Yeah, and you started young because you were what, 15 when your folks
Yeah,
bought the
yep.
place, and okay, so you've had a lot of experience. You know what you're getting into,
I don't know.
and you're ready to take it another 20 years.
I guess.
With-
I spoke at a college class this spring, and I was getting my paperwork ready, and I sat down and was writing out my outline, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I've been doing this 20 years. That means I've been farming longer than most of the kids in the class, and it just kind of hit me this spring. So
Yeah, you have a lot of experience.
yeah, I
you
guess
have.
it's,
Well, I know your dad said that you're more the field guy, but you're picking up on some of the produce and garden information right now. And so, what has been your specialties on the farm?
doing irrigation, doing hay, have been keeping equipment running. It's kind of my main
Like that-
projects here on the farm.
It's a big thing is being able to keep your own equipment running.
There's always something to work on, for sure.
So I've was wondering also about on the marketing side and the orders. Are you taking advantage? I believe you're taking advantage of some internet ordering
Yeah,
and some
so
beyond the farmers market.
It's something we talked about doing in years past, and this year with all that's happened, it kind of gave us the chance to try some new things and see if they worked, and if they didn't, there wasn't really any harm in trying this, this spring.
Right.
So yeah, we kind of branched out into doing some online ordering for pickup at our store and pickup at a couple area markets, and I think overall it went fairly well, and we'll see if we continue. The hardest part is juggling inventory for us, because we don't input everything into inventory, and so when we create an online store, we have to manage that super closely, because
Right. Somebody
inventory
orders.
is it's going other places too. So that, for us, that was the biggest challenge.
Yeah. And so was that a trial and error this summer a hit or a miss?
I think it was a hit. It definitely allowed us to reach some new customers, and it allowed us to serve some people that were more concerned with shopping. And I think it reached a new demographic. I think that's we've been doing market 17 years, so we've pretty much established a clientele, and it changes, but there's people that have been shopping with us for the last 15 or 17 years that we see at market every year. And this allowed us to kind of reach and maybe hit a little bit of a different customer base that we weren't reaching before. So
Okay. So about the team that's going to take it forward, it's not just you.
No, it's not just-
It's you and family, and
Yes.
you're all working together. So who all is involved in the farm now?
So it started with my folks and I, and as we've grown, my wife moved to the farm when we got married, and we brought her on, and she does bookwork. She does a lot of our website design, advertising, online sales. A lot of that is her. And then my brother-in-law and sister also moved to the farm, I think going on 8 years ago now. So as we've grown, we've brought in new people, and it's just continued to be a growing operation. Allowed us to grow, slowly, not start all at once.
So what's your favorite time of the year? Favorite in
Man,
the rhythm of
that's
the
a
seasons?
tough thing to ask a farmer.
I know. That's why I like to ask.
I love the seasons. I would say fall or spring, and for completely opposite reasons. By fall, we're tired and we've put in long hours and we're ready to slow down. So we really enjoy the change of seasons and the pace that changes. Whether you want it to or not, whether your work is done or not, you're kind of forced to slow down. And then the spring, for the opposite reason. It's a new year. Everything is, you get a second chance on everything, basically, or another chance on everything. So.
Any advice for someone who is thinking of getting into this kind of a of a venture.
Make sure you want to do it. That's for sure. Don't do it thinking you're going to make a lot of money, because we have done a lot and sacrificed a lot to be where we are. So hours, time, trips not taken, events missed, whatever. It definitely runs your life when you are in the farming season. But it's a great life too. I think serving our community, selling our product direct to customers and getting that feedback is great. I don't know if I'd be able to be a commodity farmer and not deal with the customer. Just hearing their appreciation and really gives you the energy to do, to go out and do it another day, because it's hard in the middle of the season to continue.
Well, I was a customer last week, and the celery was a hit in the chili that I served on Saturday. So
Awesome.
there's some
That's great.
feedback for you.
That's great.
Okay. Thank you for joining us on this Ag Stories journey, exploring the connections between agriculture and you. Our sponsors are Ag Enterprise Supply, located in Cheney, Washington, supplying everything you need to get the highest yields out of your crops. State Bank Northwest, founded in Garfield, Washington, now headquartered in Spokane. State Bank Northwest offers full-service banking on a first-name basis.